You'd think being a millionaire would make dating easier. But for Marcus Lane, every no he heard carved deeper into something money couldn't fix. The 99th woman leaned across the table, sipped her $18 green tea, and smiled politely, the kind of smile that precedes a polite exit. "Sorry, Marcus," she said. "You're just not grounded enough for me." That night, in the back of his luxury SUV, Marcus laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, but because, deep down, he knew what she really meant. She didn't want the man with the private jet, the stocks, the penthouse view. She wanted someone real. And maybe, just maybe, so did he. But what happens when a man who owns half the city pretends to come from the dirt beneath it? That's where everything changed. And it started with a lie so simple, yet so disarming. It shattered every wall she had. Pause beat. Atmospheric music shift. Marcus Lane wasn't always rich. He used to deliver newspapers with holes in his sneakers. He used to collect rainwater for drinking when the plumbing failed. But no one saw that part of him anymore. Not the women, not the media, not even himself. Until he met her. Her name. We'll get to that. But first, let's rewind to rejection number 1. Because the pattern started long before the 99th woman. Flashback 18 months earlier, Marcus had just sold his second software company for $87 million. His PR team told him to stay visible, clean image, soft brand, human appeal. Try dating apps. It'll make you more relatable, they said. He did. But Marcus Lane wasn't looking for relatability. He was looking for someone who'd look at him and not see dollar signs. So he created a fake profile. Just a photo. No job title. No flashy captions. Just Marcus, 36, likes dogs and hiking. He matched with 20 women in 2 weeks. But every date ended the same, to quiet, to awkward, to not the man they imagined behind the wealth. And when he did show up in his real form, tailored suit, luxury watch, guarded smile, they all leaned in, like it was an audition, like they were selling themselves to him, like love was a transaction. And Marcus? He was exhausted. Expert clip. Dr. Janessa Torres, behavioral psychologist. Fictitious hyper-successful individuals often experience perceived intimacy. People assume they know them because of their status. But it's a fade. What they truly crave is vulnerability, authenticity, and ironically, that's what they're least likely to receive. Return to scene. So on the 100th try, he flipped the script. He changed his profile. No blazer, just a dusty gray t-shirt. Caption: I work in a mine. You probably wouldn't be interested. He expected silence. Instead, he got one match. Just one. A woman with a chipped smile, grease-stained fingernails in her profile pic, and a bio that read, "Don't like liars. Don't like suits. Don't care what you own." He blinked, then messaged her. "You ever dated a minor?" She replied. 5 minutes later, "You ever been on a real date?" And in that moment, Marcus Lane, the man who was too rich to be real, felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. But here's what she didn't know. Marcus Lane hadn't stepped inside a mine in his life, and the lie that brought her to him could also be the one that destroys them both. What happened on that first date would change everything, but not in the way Marcus imagined. Because when you lie to someone who hates liars, you better be ready to lose more than just their trust. Her name was Leah Morris, 20, 9 years old, auto mechanic by day, amateur boxer by night. She lived in a 2-bedroom trailer parked behind her uncle's tire shop in Nevada. And if there was one thing she couldn't stand, it was arrogance. Dressed as charm, Leah had been on exactly 3 dates in the past year. All of them ended the same way, a man trying to impress her with things she didn't ask for. So when a guy named Marcus, supposedly a minor, invited her to a quiet diner on the edge of town, she didn't expect fireworks, but she did expect honesty, and that's where the trouble began. Pause SFX. Low hum of diner atmosphere. Cutlery clinking. He showed up 5 minutes early. Plain jeans, worn out boots, soft calluses on his fingers, fake ones, glued on. But what gave him away wasn't his hands, it was his eyes. They darted too much, too calculating. Minors don't skin rooms like that. CEOs do. Leah narration. Style voice over her perspective. I remember thinking, something's off. He smiled like a man trying to hide something. And then he ordered sparkling water. Who does that after a 10-hour shift underground? She played it cool. Listened to his story. Let him talk about digging shafts and ore yields. But when he called copper precious metal, she nearly laughed. Only if you're selling scrap to a junkyard, she said, smirking. He blinked, busted. Back to narrator. Marcus's throat tightened. He'd rehearsed this persona like a script. But Leah, she wasn't following the lines. So he did something strange. He confessed. Midway through dessert. I'm not a minor, he said. Leah leaned back, arms crossed. Then what are you? He hesitated, looked her in the eye. I'm a man who's tired of being seen for everything except who I am. Expert clip. Avery Graham, relationship strategist fictitious. When people live behind success, they begin to crave the mundane. It's why some celebrities shop alone at gas stations or eat in diners. It's not about food. It's about anonymity. It's about being human again. Back to scene for a second. Leah didn't say a word. Then she grabbed her jacket. Marcus stood up, thinking she was leaving. But instead, she tossed a 20 on the table and said, next time, don't lie. Real men don't need to. And walked out. Pause. Door chime SFX. Fade out music that could have been the end. But what Marcus did next, it wasn't planned. It wasn't strategic. It wasn't rehearsed. It was desperate. He chased her to the parking lot. No more pretending. No more ROLEPLAY, just truth. I've been rejected 99 times, he said. You're number 100, and I don't want to lose you, too. She paused, keys in hand, looked at him, really looked. Then, without smiling, she asked, you ever fixed a carburetor? He said no. Then you're helping me tomorrow. And drove off. Beat. Transition music begins. Marcus had no idea what he'd just signed up for, because the next morning, he wasn't in his penthouse. He was under a Dodge Ram, oil dripping onto his fake designer shirt. And Leah? She wasn't impressed yet, because anyone can get dirty for a day. But can a millionaire stay uncomfortable long enough to earn her trust? Cliffhanger music builds. What happened in that garage wasn't just about engines, it was about breaking a man down to the bolts. Next, Marcus meets her past and realizes hers is darker than any mine he ever claimed to work in. At 6:15 a.m., Marcus Lane stood outside a rusting garage with oil stains older than his last company. He wore a navy hoodie. No logos, no watch, no ego. Leah didn't say good morning. She just handed him gloves, pointed to the truck, and said, hope you're not afraid of getting your hands dirty. But oil was the least of his worries. Because while Marcus was pretending to belong in her world, Leah was hiding a truth of her own. And what was under the hood of that Dodge Ram was nothing compared to what was buried in her past. For the first hour, she didn't talk, just worked. Fast. Focused. Like she was trying to outrun something. Marcus tried to keep up. His fingers fumbled. His knuckles bled. And still, she didn't flinch. Until he asked her the question that cracked the silence. Why do you hate liars so much? She froze, then slowly, she looked up and said, because I grew up with one. Leah's father was a driller. Not in a mine. In people's wallets. He conned 6 women across 3 states before Leah was old enough to read. He'd leave love notes on the fridge and gambling slips in the trash. And her mother? She waited, believed, prayed. Until one day she didn't. When Leah was 12, she watched her mom pack a suitcase with one hand and wipe a tear with the other. And from that day on, Leah promised herself, no liars, no suits, no sweet talk, only truth. Even if it hurt, Marcus listened. No interruptions, no defenses. And then he did something he hadn't done in years. He told her about his mother. Before the suits. Before the millions. There was just him and her. A nurse. To jobs. No rest. She once walked 3 miles at night to bring him dinner in a brown paper bag. He remembered the bag more than the food. He remembered the look in her eyes when he told her he wanted to be so rich she'd never have to walk again. And now, she was gone. Cancer. Quick. Cruel. Final. He built his empire in her name. But with every dollar earned, he felt a little more hollow. When he finished the story, Leah didn't hug him. She just handed him a wrench and said, then prove you're more than money. They worked in silence for the next 2 hours. And, for the first time, Marcus didn't feel like he was acting poor. He felt like he was becoming someone real. Shared vulnerability is what builds connection. It's not about wealth or status. It's about letting someone see the cracks. And when 2 broken pieces fit together. That's where love begins. At 10:43 a.m. Leah dropped the hood shut. We're done, she said. Trucks. Fixed. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead, heart racing for reasons he couldn't explain. She looked at him and, for the first time, smiled for real. You're not completely useless, minor boy. But just as he laughed, a voice shouted from across the lot. Leah. A tall man stepped out of a black pickup, face tight, fists clenched. Marcus turned. And Leah. She went pale. Because he wasn't just a man from her past. He was the reason she stopped trusting love. The black pickup screeched to a stop, gravel crackling under its tires. The man who stepped out had a presence that made Marcus instinctively square his shoulders. 6'3", broad-shouldered, sun-scorched skin, and the kind of face that carried history. Leah's history. Leah, he barked. Why didn't you answer my messages? Marcus turned to her, expecting resistance, a retort, anything. But she just stood there, silent, stiff. Who's this? The man snapped, nodding toward Marcus. Leah finally moved. None of your business, Dean. Dean. Even his name sounded like trouble. Dean Michaels had to do his 1 charge of aggravated assault and a history of stalking an ex. Typical profile. Charming in public, explosive in private. These men often return to haunt women who finally move on. Marcus stepped forward. Hey, man, she said, it's not your business. Dean laughed, the kind of laugh that hides a threat. And who are you? Her new project. Marcus's jaw tightened, but before he could speak, Leah stepped between them. Dean, you don't get to show up anymore. We're done. We've been done. Dean took a step closer. Too close. Leah didn't flinch, but Marcus saw her fingers curl into fists. Then Dean looked Marcus up and down. Lemma guess. Another guy pretending to care. What's your angle? You slumming it. Marcus didn't answer. Because this wasn't about pride, it was about Leah, and right now, she was holding herself together with pure willpower. Go home. Dean, she said, her voice low. But Dean didn't move. Instead, he looked at Marcus and said, You don't belong here. Trust me. She breaks everything she touches. And with that, he turned and drove off. Leah stood still for several seconds, then, slowly, walked back toward the garage. Marcus followed, unsure if he should speak, but she beat him to it. We dated for 3 years. He taught me how to rebuild transmissions, and how to rebuild myself every time he tore me down. She didn't cry, she didn't tremble, she just kept working. Because that's what Leah did. She fixed things. Even when she was the one breaking inside. Her uncle once said, You don't cry in garages. You sweat. You bleed. But you don't cry. And that's how she learned to survive. But survival isn't the same as living. And Marcus? He wanted more for her. So he asked the question, Why'd you let him talk to you like that? She looked at him, dead in the eye. Because the only way to win with men like Dean is not to play. Many survivors of toxic relationships don't engage in confrontation. It's not weakness. It's strategy, silence, withdrawal, indifference. They are shields built from past wounds. Marcus stood in silence. He realized he wasn't just stepping into her world. He was stepping into her scars. And if he wanted to stay, he had to be more than a man in disguise. He had to be a safe place. So, he made a decision. You said, I had to prove I'm more than money. He said, Let me prove I'm more than him. Leah didn't answer, but she nodded. Just once. And that was enough for now. 2 days after Dean's appearance, the garage was quieter than usual. Leah barely spoke. Her rhythm was different, slower, more guarded, and Marcus could feel it like a weight in the air. He didn't push, didn't ask. Instead, he walked into the shop holding 2 tickets. She looked at him, wiping grease from her hands. What's this? Truck rally. To town's over. Tonight? Leah raised an eyebrow. You think I'm into monster trucks? Marcus smiled. No, but I think you're into getting the hell out of here. Even if it's just for a night. She hesitated, then grabbed the tickets from his hand. Fine, but I'm driving. And just like that, the tension cracked. Not broken, not healed, but lighter. The rally wasn't glamorous. Dust, noise, beer-stained seats. But Leah was smiling. Again Dodd and Marcus? He was watching her. Not the trucks, not the show, just her. Because for the first time, she was letting go. You don't need to be rich to feel free. She once told him. You just need the right sky, the right night, and someone to sit with. And now, all these years later, here he was, under the right sky, beside someone he never expected. Between races, they sat on the hood of her truck, sipping soda. Leah turned to him. So what do you really do, Marcus? He exhaled. I build things, and then I sell them. Apps, companies, ideas. So, tech? Yeah. She nodded, slow and unreadable. Figures. Why? Because only a guy from tech would think lying about being a minor was a good idea. Asterisk, you're lucky I didn't walk out. I know. You're still lucky I haven't. Asterisk, I know that too. And just like that, the conversation shifted. Not because he said the right things, but because he finally stopped trying. Asterisk, real intimacy is born in the unsaid. When you stop selling yourself and just exist with someone. Awkward pauses and all. That's when walls fall. Asterisk, as they walked back to the truck, Leah asked, so what happens when this ends? Marcus turned to her. What if it doesn't? But before she could answer, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Froze. Dean, she muttered. Marcus stepped closer. Block him. She looked up. Something flickered in her eyes. It's not that simple. Why not? Because he knows something about me. Something that could blow this whole thing up. Asterisk, Marcus's chest tightened. What does he know? Leah looked at him. Jaw clenched. Eyes heavy. Something I never told you. About my past. About who I used to be. And just like that, everything paused because secrets cut both ways. And while Marcus had spent weeks hiding behind a fake job, Leah had been hiding something deeper, something real, something that could end this before it ever truly began. Asterisk. They sat in the truck, engine off, windows down. The desert wind blew in like a whisper, but inside, it was dead silent. Leah's phone screen dimmed to black. Marcus waited. You don't have to tell me, he said. But she did, not for him. For herself. 5 years ago, I wasn't fixing trucks, she said. I was running numbers. He blinked. Like accounting? She shook her head. Like illegal betting. Small-time bookie work. For guys like Dean. Marcus didn't move, didn't speak. It started with a loan. My mom was sick. The bills were eating us alive. Dean said he knew a way I could make fast cash. And you trusted him? Yeah. Stupid, right? No. Desperate. Asterisk, she didn't like it. But she was good at it. Quick with numbers. Quiet. Invisible until the cops raided the house. Dean ran. She stayed. Took the fall. 6 months in county jail, not prison. But enough to stain every job application she filled out after that. Asterisk, people think once you serve time, it's over. But for most women, the sentence follows them for years. In judgment, in paperwork, in silence, especially when it comes to trust and relationships. Asterisk, I got clean after that. Started over. The garage was my second chance. And Dean, Marcus asked, showed up 6 months ago. Said he'd keep quiet as long as I stayed friendly. Blackmail. Yeah. Why didn't you go to the police? Leah laughed, bitter. Because no one believes the ex-con over the clean-cut guy with a job and a truck. I tried once. They told me to get a restraining order. And a lawyer. Like I could afford either. Asterisk, Marcus looked at her, not with pity, not with fear, but with something deeper. Thank you for telling me. She blinked. That's it? Yeah. You're not gonna run. No. You're not gonna judge me. Not for surviving. And with that, something shifted, not in the air, in her. Because for the first time since the black pickup showed up, Leah leaned against him, forehead to his shoulder, eyes closed. And Marcus, he didn't speak, didn't move. He just stayed. Because when someone shows you their worst, and you stay anyway, that's where love begins. Asterisk, love isn't just about who you are in the present. It's about how you carry each other's pasts without letting them poison the future. Asterisk. They returned to the garage just after dawn. Marcus made coffee. Leah tightened bolts in silence until she said, "Dean's not done. I know. I need help. But not pity. Not rescue. What do you need?" She looked up. "A plan." Asterisk. It started with a license plate. Dean was parked across the street from Leah's trailer when Marcus left one night. He followed at a distance, silent, patient. And when Marcus pulled into a gated property on the edge of town, with security, cameras and motion lights, Dean took note. The next day, he ran the plates, and what he found made his blood boil. Marcus Lane, founder of Hexanet, tech billionaire, disguised as a grease monkey. Dean didn't just see betrayal. He saw opportunity. Asterisk. Marcus had been on magazine covers. He had investments in 5 countries. And yet, he was spending his nights in a garage, dating Leah Morris. To Dean, it didn't add up. But then again, maybe it didn't have to. All he needed to do was expose the truth, and everything would unravel. Dean crafted a message, one that dripped with fake concern. "Thought you should know the guy working in your shop is a fraud. Not a minor. Not broke. Not even close. Google Marcus Lane before you hand him your keys. Or your heart." Attached was a photo of Marcus from a tech summit. Caption: "The man behind the mask." He sent it to the garage's Google business profile, then to Leah's personal email, then to the local news blog, and waited. When a high-profile individual hides their identity in small-town settings, the risk isn't just emotional, it's explosive, because discovery feels like betrayal, even when the intent was protection. She was under a car when the garage phone buzzed. An email from Dean's burner address. She clicked. Reed paused, and for the first time since she met Marcus, her heart didn't skip. It stopped. She walked into the office, closed the door, and called him. "You lied." Marcus was across town, in line at a hardware store. "Leah, I can EXPL. Don't. Just don't. Please, let's talk. In person. You should have talked before you let me fall for someone who doesn't exist." Marcus stared at the screen. 1,000 thoughts, none of them useful. He had told her parts of the truth, but not the part that mattered. Not the part that made her feel like the joke. He rushed to the garage, but she was gone. Trailer empty. Shop locked. Her truck missing. All that remained was the email, printed and pinned to the wall, circled in red ink. "The man behind the mask. Sometimes lies are the only way to survive," she once told him. And Marcus believed that, until now, because survival didn't feel like this. This felt like loss. The podium was set in front of the auto shop. Not a courtroom. Not a fancy venue. Just cracked pavement, rusted signage, and a folding table holding a single microphone. Leah stood behind it. Jeans, flannel shirt, hair tied back. No makeup. No preteam, just truth. And a stack of papers in her hand. The garage was closed to the public, but reporters came anyway. Local first, then regional, then a national freelancer who smelled blood in a love story gone wrong. Why did Leah call them? Not to ruin Marcus, but to reclaim herself. He tried to humiliate her, tried to use the truth like a weapon. But Leah had spent her whole life fixing broken things. This time, it was her own story. She raised her hand. The crowd quieted. "I'm not here to cancel anyone," she began. "I'm here to say I met a man who lied. Not because he wanted to hurt me, but because he didn't believe someone like me could love the truth. This, she said, holding up Marcus's fake dating profile, wasn't meant to deceive. It was meant to protect. But lies don't protect. They isolate. She took a breath. My name is Leah Morris. I've been to jail. I've made mistakes. I've loved the wrong men. And I've hidden from the world. But I won't hide anymore. And Marcus, if you're watching this, come as yourself. Or don't come at all. What Leah did was revolutionary in its vulnerability. By owning her truth publicly, she forced Marcus, and everyone watching, to question the way we evaluate authenticity. He didn't blink, didn't move, just watched her say those words. Come as yourself, or don't come at all. It wasn't anger in her voice, it was grief. And that hurt more than anything. They see the suit, his mother had warned, but they'll never see the soul, unless you take the armor off. Now, Leah had stripped her story bare, and he was still hiding. That night, he didn't go to his penthouse. He didn't return to the shop. He drove miles outside of town, to the last place he remembered being honest. His mother's grave. He knelt beside the headstone, whispering apologies. Not just to her, to himself, to Leah. And when he stood back up, the decision had been made. Tomorrow, he would return. Not as Marcus Lane, the CEO. Not as the fake miner. But as the man Leah deserved from day one. While Marcus stood in silence at his mother's grave, Dean Michaels was uploading something. Not another email, not a rumor. A video. Grainy. Nighttime. Security cam angle. It showed Marcus and Leah kissing behind the garage. From tonight ago. A quiet moment. Private. Intimate. But Dean had zoomed in. Slowed it down. Overlaid it with a voiceover. Leah Morris. Convicted felon. Mechanic. And apparently professional gold digger. Caught on tape cozying up to tech billionaire Marcus Lane. Is this love? Or just another hustle? He titled the upload, The Con, and the coder then pushed it live. And just like that, the internet exploded. She didn't know it yet. She was under a car when the first text came in. Then another. Then a dozen more. You're trending. Girl, is this real? You and the tech guy? Her heart dropped. Not because of the kiss. Not even because of the attention. But because of the comments. She played him. She's doing what ex-cons do. Told you a man like that doesn't fall for someone like her. And worst of all, she's just like her father. She backed away from the truck. Felt the garage spinning. Felt 12 years of struggle unravel in one headline. And then the call came. Marcus. She didn't answer. Voicemail. Leah. I saw it. I don't know how he got that footage. But I'm so sorry. I'm going to fix this. Please just don't disappear. He knew Dean had posted it. He also knew that words weren't enough now. The speed of digital judgment is lethal. But it's not always the story that shapes perception. It's who speaks first. He opened a live stream. His face filled the screen, no suit. No filter, just Marcus. Hi, I'm not a miner. I'm not a liar. I'm not perfect. But I'm also not going to let the woman I care about get dragged because of a mistake I made. Leah Morris is not a gold digger. She didn't know who I was when we met. And when she found out, she didn't ask for money. She asked for the truth. She told hers. Now I'm telling mine. I'm Marcus Lane, billionaire, tech guy, and completely, recklessly, undeniably in love with the woman in that video. So if you've got a problem, come for me. Leave her out of it. He ended the stream, closed the laptop, and waited. But what he didn't know was that Leah had seen it, all of it, and she was already in her truck, heading somewhere she swore she'd never go again. Dean's house. Not for revenge, for closure. The road to Dean's house was lined with regrets. Every curve held a memory Leah wished she could erase. But not today. Today wasn't about pain. It was about power. She pulled up to the cracked driveway, her tires crunching over gravel like glass. Dean was outside, shirtless, drinking from a can like he hadn't just tried to destroy her life. He looked up, grinned. Didn't expect you to show up so soon. Didn't expect you to be so predictable, she replied. She didn't yell, didn't raise her hands. She handed him a manila envelope. That's a cease and desist. Signed, filed, backed by Marcus Lane's legal team. Dean scoffed. So, the billionaire finally stepped in. No, she said. I did. He just gave me the pen. He tore the envelope open, skimmed the documents. His smirk faded. You think this scares me? I don't care if you're scared, she said. I care that you finally understand. You don't own me anymore. Dean tossed the papers aside. You think this is over, that some paperwork and a love speech make you untouchable. Leah stepped closer. No, but they make me seen. You had your chance to destroy me, and you used it on a video. That's the best you've got. Dean didn't answer. She leaned in. I built something out of the ashes you left me in. A life, a name, a man who loves me without needing to break me. So go ahead, try again, because every time you swing, I'll still be standing. And next time, it won't be a cease and desist. It'll be charges. The moment a survivor confronts their abuser without fear, not rage, not chaos, just clarity, that's when healing truly begins. For the first time, he had nothing to say. Leah turned, walked away, never looked back. She pulled in slow, parked, got out, face unreadable. He stepped forward. I saw what you did, she said. I saw what you did, he replied. Silence. Then, so now what? He asked. She looked up at him. Now we tell the truth. Together. No more lies. No more pretending. And if the world keeps judging, then let them watch. Because it wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about building something true. 5:42 a.m. The desert horizon was still dark. The kind of black that makes stars look sharp. Marcus stood alone at the edge of a dried-up quarry, the meeting place Dean had chosen. Phone in his pocket. No security. No backup, just one man facing the ghost of every lie he'd told and every truth he'd run from. Dean arrived 5 minutes late. Same black pickup, the same crooked grin. But this time, he wasn't holding a beer. He was holding a hard drive. You came alone, Dean said. You expected otherwise. Marcus replied. Honestly, I thought you'd send a lawyer. Or a drone. This isn't about lawyers. No, Dean smirked. It's about leverage. He dangled the drive between his fingers. Everything's on here. Unedited. The kiss. The confession. Her record. Your fortune. You name it. Marcus didn't flinch. What do you want? 10 million. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You think I'd pay you to keep my relationship quiet? Not just your relationship, Dean said, stepping closer. Her. I'll burn her to the ground in front of everyone. Sponsors, partners, boards. You know how fast stories spread. This isn't blackmail, Marcus said. It's desperation. Same thing in this town. Marcus stepped forward, now just inches from Dean. You think money is power, but it's not. You had power over Leah, and she took it back. So now, you're reaching for mine. But here's the thing. He pulled something from his jacket. A USB stick. It's everything I just said. Recorded, streamed live. Dean's face twisted. Marcus nodded toward the nearby car, a tiny LED light on the dial blinking red. Thousands just watched you threaten us both. Dean lunged, but Marcus stepped back fast. Not today. Sirens in the distance. Marcus tossed the USB into the quarry. Keep the drive. It's worthless now. Dean turned, furious, only to see a sheriff's cruiser crest the hill. The moment abusers realize they no longer control the narrative, that's when justice begins to mean something. It's not about revenge. It's about release. Leah sat on the hood of her truck, legs swinging, coffee in hand. Marcus pulled up, stepped out. She smiled before he even said a word. You did it, she said. We did. He sat beside her. They watched the sun rise. Not as a symbol, not as a metaphor, but as proof that even when love starts in lies, it can end in light. Leah opening a new second garage in her name. Marcus giving a TEDx talk titled Why I Lied and Why I Stopped. Social media celebrating their redemption story. Dean's mugshot fading from headlines. Leah speaking at a youth rehab center. Your past isn't your price tag. A new dating profile photo. Marcus and Leah. Greasy hands, matching grins. Caption. Still not a minor. Still hers. This wasn't a fairy tale day. It wasn't perfect. It was messy. Complicated. Human. And that's what made it real. Because when you choose to love someone after the mask comes off, that's not a romance. That's a revolution.